Hello, my friends. Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa String Works Man Cave. She be done. The Waterwheel house is finished, I guess. I mean, it's just like anything. You can always do more, but for the most part, it's finished. It's at least as done as my vision, when I started it. So I think that's pretty good. I'll show you a video on that. Actually, my video that I'm going to show you is kind of quite a few different video clips over the weekend, and I just jammed them all together. So there's a little bit of, I don't know, weirdness in the middle, but I figure you can deal with it. JR is back from AVA, which is the World Championships for the Foxtrotter Horse Breed Association, and he did well. I'm going to leave it up to him to tell it on his channel, but he did well. Maybe not as well as he had hoped, but he did pretty well. Let's see. In other news, I think I mentioned to you that I had bought a new scope for my air rifle, that PCP air rifle, the one that takes the 4,000 pounds of pressure. And this is a great little scope. But right after I bought this, doggone it, I found out that there is a night vision scope that came out that is a lot cheaper, a lot less money than they've been. They've been several $1,000s. Well, I found one for like $700, and I finally just went ahead and bought it. Life's too short, So I took that. I put the night vision scope on my air rifle, and I've been sighting that in. I've got it all fixed up. I'm going to use it to shoot rats in the barn at night. And I'll probably have some video of that for those of you who are not squeamish. For those of you who are squeamish about rats, well, too bad. They're just the way it is, Rats got to go. That's all I can tell you. In fact, Sue didn't even realize it, but we had all of her feed and everything in a metal container with a wooden lid that came down. Well, they've chewed a hole through the wooden lid, and she goes, she didn't even realize it or didn't recognize it. So, the rats are a problem. Even with the baits that we have out, and we always keep baits out, the rats are just a major problem. And they're field rats, I guess you'd call them. I mean, they just come from anywhere and everywhere. They're out in the fields. They're everywhere. But if you've got a barn, well, they're definitely going to congregate in a barn. And even though we put out bait for them, they just keep coming, So I figure I can use my night vision scope on my air rifle and, hone my shooting skills. Here's the video I was going to show you, and like I said, it's a kind of a hodgepodge of videos. Mostly it's about the Waterwheel house, but there are a few other little minor subjects here and there. So here you go. Beautiful view today, don't you think? It's nice and cool this morning, Saturday morning. You can't see your hand in front of your face. Well, it's not quite that bad, but it's definitely pretty heavy fog down in the valley. I think that looks really cool. Well, my friends, it is Saturday morning, and most of the front is finished. I still have that one strip across there, which I already got a little piece over there. Of course, it's split on me, wouldn't you know? But I got to trim up the side here, trim up the side, trim across the middle seam there, and then all the battens up above. And I just need this one more board, but I'm taking a break for lunch. Then on this side, I still need the board across. I need a trim board up the corner, and then the battens under the window. So getting close. On this end, I don't think I need much. I need the board across here, and I think that's it, because I've got all the work done up above. So I need a board across here, and I need to extend these down, and this one all the way down, and this one just a little bit right here,
probably cut it off a little bit and then come down to the end of this, I guess. I don't know what else to do. Yeah, it's not simple. Nothing's easy. Yeah, I'll have to come all the way down because the other board on the other side will come all the way down. But that's really just about all of it. A little bit on this side, I'm sure, too, which would be the board coming down, the one across. And then, you know, if I want to put gutter boards on, which I might do, though I don't feel like that's part of the initial plan here, I may wait on that. But we'll see. Well, I only worked on it about an hour this afternoon, or maybe an hour and a half. What that involved was milling a bunch of 1x4s. And so I used one there, there, and then two on the side here. So I got that put in and the corner done. And I'm going to call it quits for today. And yeah, I'm wore out. So I didn't work that hard on it this afternoon, but that's good enough as far as I'm concerned. I'm really liking the looks of it. It's starting to really have a nice look to it. Once those doors are, you know, turned black, it's going to really pop, I think. It's going to, you know, especially once we put the stain on this and then get the doors black, it's going to really pop. I mean, I like the way it looks right now, but it'll just get better. That's, I want to say, officially done. It's really not. There's still two more things before the painting and staining. There's still two more things. Of course, the Bobcat had to start up. I need to put a gutter board on this, and I need to put handrails on. So I got gutter board here, and then handrails. And I'm calling them gutter boards. They're fascia boards is what they are. But whether I put gutters on it or not, that'll be for something down the road. I'm not worried about that for quite a while. In fact, I may never worry about that. But she is officially finished. So you can see I got all the trim on there and got the battens under the window. Assuming you can hear me with the Bobcat running. The old water wheel's spinning still, though it is going kind of slow. I'll give you the look from across the pond here in just a moment. Well, there she is. Looking pretty darn nice. Let's go ahead and zoom in. And let me back up here. That looks pretty good if you ask me. It's Sunday mid-afternoon. I don't know if you can see all the dragonflies in the sky or air, but I would say just what I can see right now, I would count probably 100 of them. You know, they're just pretty much everywhere. Those things bloom after the martins are gone too, because the martins will eat those as well. Of course, they claim these things, these dragonflies, eat mosquitoes, probably more mosquitoes than the martins eat. So it's kind of good and bad. You know, it's good that the dragonflies eat the mosquitoes. It's bad that the martins eat the dragonflies. But there's a bunch of them out here now. Well, my friends, I really thought I'd come up here and knock out this handrail in about an hour and a half, 2 hours. It is kicking my tail. The geometry on this drives me crazy. The posts, I made the two posts exactly the same size, thinking that that would work. You know, because that angle is constant, you know, that angle there. But what the problem is we're measuring to the front of this post here down, And on this one, we're measuring on the back of the post down. And they don't measure the same. This one's 2¼ inches shorter. And therefore, you know, this is not parallel to that. You would think it would be. I guess if I was measuring to the front side, it would, but I'm not, you know, I can't put the handrail to the front side. Oh my gosh, that has screwed me up so bad, I'm telling you. So now I got to remake this post. Bummer, dude, man, I'm telling you. I don't do a lot of stair rails. Now I know why. Well, I was going to put gutter boards on it, but Sue says she likes the look of seeing those big beams. So I guess I'll leave it without the gutter boards. The only thing I guess I have left to do then is just to put the stair rails on, the handrails. And as you can tell, that's not going real well. But otherwise, everything else, wood-wise, is finished. It's done. So I'm tickled with that. Let me tell you, you have no idea how tickled I am about that, because that has been a big project, bigger than I ever really thought it would be, even though I knew it would be a really big project. But it's still always bigger than you expect, you know. Especially when you got to cut all the trees down and then cut all the lumber up yourself. The only thing I bought for this is the doors and windows and the lag bolts and nails, of course, but you know what I mean.
It's done. That's all I got to say. Well, I'll finish up that handrail this afternoon. I think I can get it finished. I'm going to put handrails on both sides. The first one's the hard one, to get all the geometry right. Well, the reason I couldn't figure out, well, why is that 2¼ inches, you know, shorter than the other one? And I got to thinking about it. After I got to thinking about it, it makes sense. Well, the post is 4½ inches wide or thick, and 2.25 is half of that. So, you know, the fact that you're measuring from, you know, like I was measuring from the front side of the upper post to the inside or the back side of the lower post, and the thickness of that is the 2¼ inches difference. It makes sense now, now that I ruined the post, but I couldn't, I don't know. I was just going around and chasing my tail there for the longest time, trying to figure out, why is this not working? But now it makes sense. And I'll fix that up hopefully this afternoon and get that done. Or at least that's my goal. Let's go to the comments and see. Oh, well, might just mention a couple more things. Obviously I did the video over the weekend and or released it Friday. Well, it did get a lot of negative comments, which I knew it would, because of taking that rubber mallet and pounding on those, you know, tuning keys. And if I had to do it over again, I'd do it exactly the same way. And the reason is, you know, when you put that in your hand and you tap on it, your hand acts like a shock absorber. So there's really no shock going into the rest of the instrument. It's just right there. That's all there is. It's just that little bit of shock right there in that one spot. And, you know, a lot of the comments were saying, you should use penetrant, you know, you're an idiot. You know, this was painful to watch, you know, and all things like that. And well, the bottom line is, you know, they were saying you shouldn't, you know, hit on a 1941 Martin guitar, you know, and I'm saying, okay, well, then let's analyze your idea here. Let's put penetrant on it. Now, you know what penetrant's going to do? It's going to penetrate. It's going to penetrate into the wood is what it's really going to penetrate into. And it's going to soak into that wood. And guess what happens to the finish once it soaks into the finish, or once it soaks into the wood? Well, the finish is going to come off. So do you want the finish to come off on a 1941 Martin? I do not. I do not want that to happen. That's the first problem with the penetrant. The second problem with the penetrant is that penetrants give you a warm, fuzzy feeling. You know, everybody uses them. I've used them my whole life. But the truth is they don't do anything. I honestly, in I've got a metal shop. I've done just as much metal work as I've ever done woodwork in my life. Probably more metal work than I've done woodwork in my life, if you really want to know the truth. And I could count on maybe one finger the number of times I think penetrant actually did something. I mean, you put it on there, you think it's going to help, and it doesn't do anything. And finally, when you finally figure out it's not doing anything, then you go put it under the press and you press it loose, or you pound it with a hammer till it comes loose, or, you just force it with a wrench until you break it loose, or you heat it with a heat gun, and those are the things that actually work. The penetrant just gives you the warm, fuzzy feeling. So, and if I did use penetrants on those tuning keys, well, you would have had to wait a couple of days before it would do its job, if it did work. So the bottom line is, I did that whole job in like 15 minutes. I was done in 15 minutes versus the penetrant idea, which wouldn't work anyway. And you would ruin the peg head. The second comment that, people were jumping on was, you can tell that neck reset's not any good because he didn't put a wedge under the extension over the guitar. Well, I have seen probably 10 times as many Martin guitars as those people making those comments. Probably seen 10 times as many as the next most commenter. And I have never seen one single quality Martin guitar with a wedge under the fingerboard extension. But yet people, were making that comment, and they were thumbs up in those comments. And all I can say is to those armchair quarterbacks, you really don't know anything. You really ought to keep your mouth shut and just simply pay attention to what somebody is doing and learn from it. And it's just like Abraham Lincoln said, or at least the comment was attributed to Abraham Lincoln. Whether it's really true or not, I don't know. And personally, I don't care. But the comment is, it's better to keep your mouth shut and be thought a fool rather than open your mouth and remove all doubt. And that's what they did. They removed all doubt. So I just wanted to point that out because I knew, and the reason you might say shouldn't let comments bother you. Well, they don't bother me at all. In fact, I win from those comments because it helps the YouTube algorithm. So I win either way. The reason I bring up these things about these comments is because there's lots of people watching these videos and they don't know. They read those kind of comments and they go, yeah, I wonder why he didn't use penetrance. Yeah, that makes sense. He should have used penetrance. Why did he beat on that? So that's the reason I address it. I truly don't give a rip what they say, to be honest with you, because I know how to do these things and I've been doing them for 40 years. And I can count on one hand the number of times I ever had anybody come back and complain about an instrument, on one hand. And I would say 3 of those weren't legitimate anyway. And 2 of them were, 2 of them were legitimate. And I learned from those 2 and made sure I never did those 2 things again, So there's that. That's all I can say about that. So just so you guys know that's the reason I did what I did. And like I said, it only took 15 minutes. And the fact that you want to make sure you don't put it against something hard. If I'd have put that against something hard and pounded on it, heck, I could have broke the peg head off. But by putting it in your hand, it's a shock absorber. If it ain't hurting your hand, do you think it's hurting the peg head? I don't think so. So there you go. That's why I do what I do. Eddie Turner was the first one in today. Again, Eddie, you're kind of making that a habit, man. Joe Nigan's there, wishing everyone a pleasant afternoon. Brian Byler, happy Monday. Ronald Todd, good afternoon from the West Banks of New Jersey. Bill Webb's there. Good afternoon. Bill H. Ringer from Nova Scotia. And Sidecar Bob's there. He says, I probably won't read this, but he said, I called him an extremist, and he's standing up against somebody who mocked his homeland. Well, let me just say this. I'm going to address it because I feel like I need to address this just like I need to address the previous comments about the guitar. And the reason I do this is I'm saying, Sidecar Bob, and I'm looking you straight in the eye, I'm saying you're looking for something to be offended by. I would never try to make fun of somebody's homeland or, that was not my intent. My intent was to tease a friend. I was teasing a friend. Yeah, about being the 51st state. And I don't give a rip whether you stay a country or become a 51st state. It doesn't make me any difference one way or the other. Personally, I think it'd be great if we got rid of the border and we didn't have to show our, I don't even know what you call the stupid, me and words, where we didn't have to show our passes or whatever you call that darn thing. I can't even think of it now. But where you don't have to, show anything to go across the border. Just like I don't have to show an ID to go into Illinois. So in other words, if we could fix it like that, and yes, I know the name of the thing, but I can't say it right now. So, it's just one of them deals with my brain. It's the way it works on words. But the point is, I wasn't making fun of anybody's homeland. I was teasing a friend. That's what I was doing. And my opinion is you are looking for something to be offended by. And if you want to be offended, go ahead and be offended. All snowflakes will melt around me. That's all I can tell you. I am the first person, I guarantee you, I'm the first person to apologize when I feel like I've done something wrong. But I will never apologize when I know I'm not doing anything wrong and when I'm in the right. And I'm in the right. I'm not going to apologize. In evidence of that, if you want to disbelieve that, is that when I left Mountain View and because I was mad because the music was so poor that weekend, I apologized to every single person that I left hanging. And those people are watching this, so they'll tell you that that's true or not. So I'm the first person that will apologize when I've done something wrong. I have done nothing wrong. If you choose to leave the channel, feel free, Sidecar Bob. That's your prerogative. But don't go looking for something to be offended by when there's nothing there. Like I said, all snowflakes will melt around me. Gino Hitch says, nope. Is there another one there? I missed, no comments, no question marks. Gino Hitch says, hi, Jerry and friends. The weather here is beautiful. Hope everyone had a great weekend. Bruce Ducker, greetings from Central Florida. How's the bathroom coming, Gino? And Gino says he's got all the blue board coated, still putting the mesh tape and thin set on the cement board. Those it scrolled on me a long ways. The scroll, it went all the way to the bottom that time. The bathroom projects, they seem to take forever too, kind of like this Waterwheel project. Paul Lanier, hi folks. Fall weather may happen soon in southeast Louisiana. That means temperature under 90 maybe. Let's see. We've actually had, in fact, Sue's already started. She's getting up now going, oh, it's cold. It's cold. The house is the same temperature. It's not even 1 degree different. But because it's cold outside, she's cold. She sees the thermometer, and that just makes her cold. I swear to you, it is. It's a psychosomatic thing because it's no cooler in this house than it's been the last month. But she's freezing now again. So that means the wood furnace is going to get going here before long. Doggone it. Anyway, Ronald Todd. Bye-bye. Oh, well, okay, I'm not going to read that. Paul Lanier, did you build a fret radius bender in the past? Yes, I did. I built, and there is a video out there. Again, Eddie can tell you which one it is. But I did build a fret radius bender, or whatever you want to call it. I can't think of the right word for that either. But I made mine with aluminum and some ball bearings and things, and it works fine. They all have one problem, is that they don't tend to bend the radius right on the very end of the frets. And mine's the same way. It's got the same problem, but I've never found that to be much of a problem, to be honest with you. Some people complain about that, but it doesn't seem to bother me. I just make it work. It works. Must have ate something that didn't agree with me. By the way, speaking of eating, with my stupid limited diet that I have, I said I'm trying to lose weight still and trying to eat minimal stuff. Like for lunch, I'm just eating nuts for the most part. Well, the doctor, I told you that he said that those nuts are what's causing your kidney stones. So I watched a deal on, I don't know, that doctor that's on YouTube all the time, that he's kind of a young looking doctor he seems to be pretty knowledgeable on most things, although I don't always agree with everything he says. But he recommended that, a person over 60 eat pistachios, Brazil nuts, and walnuts, and almonds. He said eat those. Well, I like all of those too, so I've switched to those nuts. And those don't necessarily, like the ones that I really like, which are the cashews and the peanuts, those cause kidney stones, of course. And so anyway, I'm switching over to those nuts. And on the Brazil nut, by the way, according to that doctor, he says you should only eat one Brazil nut a day. Now, that seems weird to me that those are great big nuts anyway, so one of them just about do you anyway. But he's saying you should only eat one Brazil nut because the selenium in there's a lot of selenium, and you need that, he says, but you only need one nut a day to get all the selenium you need. So anyway, just throw that out there. Didn't cost you any extra. That's just a public service announcement. After we went live, David Tharp says, I talked to a guy who said, I am a Christian now, so I haven't believed in reincarnation since I was Napoleon. Let's see. Bill Webb says, this is not an error. Okay, I know what that's about, so I'm going to skip that one too. Bill Webb, my grandfather used to keep the chicken feed in an old metal milk can with a metal lid. Kept the rats out. Yeah, that's definitely what needs to be. Well, the whole container is metal except for the lid, which is wood. And so we're going to either have to make a solid metal lid for it or at least cover up the holes with metal. It's just nuts, man. I'm telling you what, the rats around here are just terrible. They're just terrible. And they'll chew the wires off of your equipment. And like I said, Emery's car had... they wanted over $1,200 just for the wiring harness to fix her car, and I just spent about one whole afternoon rewiring the whole thing, and it works fine. But it didn't cost her anything that way, but it was a lot of work. They really can cause some destruction big time. Wavy gravy. We had a minister who had a tremendous rat problem. He tried everything and nothing worked. But he finally fixed it by baptizing all of them. Now they only show up at Easter and Christmas. Yeah, well, we might try that even. I'm not above trying anything. Bill Mumbo, you need finials on the roof, Jerry, and a clock and a mandolin weather vane. Well, I like the clock and mandolin weather vane idea. I don't want to gingerbread it up too much because it's supposed to be an old rustic water wheel. And they don't put gingerbread on old rustic water wheels. So that's the reason. Hugh O'Connor says, calm down yet? Water wheel house looking good. Well, I'm as calm as I guess I'll be. Let's see. Pappy Slap It One. I don't recall seeing that name before, but he says, beautiful, bravo. But if you do want me to read your comments, for those of you who are new, you do need to put question marks in the front of them. I typically don't read them otherwise. Preston Johnson, Jerry, job well done. You should really be proud of the water wheel. Thank you. I am. I really do like it. And it turned out at least as good as I had it envisioned in my head, and maybe a little better. Well, actually, it turned out better in the sense that it's a 2-story Waterwheel house, which I had only planned to do a one story, and then Sue was the one that talked me into the 2 stories. So it's bigger and better than I thought it was going to be, for sure. Brian Byler, love the Waterwheel house. Thank you. Bill Mumbo, when fishing, I loved watching the dragonflies buzzing around like mini helicopters, chasing insects and each other. Yeah, they're fun to watch. They really are, and they're actually really pretty. They kind of look ferocious if you look at them real close, up in their mouth area and all that. They look kind of mean. But if you're looking at them a little bit at a distance, they're real pretty. They got all kinds of colors and things. And who better than me to know what colors they have? I do know they are colorful. I can tell they're colorful. It's funny about color blindness. Like I said, I apparently don't see the right colors, but I can tell when something's got color and when it's just black and white. Bruce Ducker, this is the day we have been waiting on, the official completion of the Waterwheel house. Congrats on a job well done. Thank you. Well, and like I said, there'll still be 1 or 2 videos on that in the future here, especially about the staining and the handrail. When I get those done, then for the most part, it'll be calmed down for a while. Then I'll be on to moving back to the well house, the old well house, and fixing it up. I'm going to tear the roof off of it and put a new roof on it. That'll be my next job. And then the next job after that will be redoing our front driveway out here at the parking lot area, and putting a sealer over that. Ronald Todd, great job on the Waterwheel house, Jerry. After working in building for years, knowing what you went through, get it done. I'm impressed. Well, thank you. It's been a big job, and especially cutting down the trees and all that. I mean, it's, a sawmill, if you had a real good, modern sawmill that was all hydraulic driven and you could just stand in one place and operate the whole thing, it wouldn't be quite so bad. But mine's not like that. I'm not really knocking mine. I think mine's great for what it is. For a one-man operation, for just a private farm, it's a great sawmill. But, when you got to saw a lot of lumber for a specific project, that's a lot of work. It really is a lot of work. Just the sawing of the lumber is a big, big job. Dottie Hillebrand, I love the video you put on. Love watching Master Editor's Craft. Well, thank you. G&P Old Marine Shop, hello, Jerry. Amazing job on that wheelhouse. I am surprised you don't make your own nails. Yeah, it's just one more thing I don't need to do. That's for sure. But yeah. It scrolled on me again. I've lost my place yet again. Doggone it. Man, where did it go? It's here somewhere. Okay, I think I found it. Okay, I'm looking for question marks again. Bruce Centerwall, hello again from Elk River, Minnesota, I guess. MN, I think that's Minnesota. It's not Maine, is it? Maine's ME, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, Minnesota. Let's see. Brad Tomatic, I'm never wrong. I thought I was once, but I was mistaken. Yeah, me too. Let's see. Ronald Todd, penetrating oils have all kinds of solvents in them, and they will affect the finish and can penetrate stain wood. Yeah, for sure, if you put penetrant on a peg head like that, it's going to just bleed right out into like I told you, wood is a bunch of soda straws. And if penetrants can penetrate, which supposedly they can, though they really never do, let me give you an example of what I mean when I say they don't work. If you just stop and think about it, something that's rusted shut. I mean, like, I'm seriously talking real serious rust, like a pipe or something that's inside another pipe and they're rusted together. You can pour penetrate oil on there till you're purple in the face. It ain't never going to do nothing. You might think it will. It gives you that warm, fuzzy feeling. But just think of it like this. If you took a jar and you screw the jar lid down tight and you pour penetrating oil around there, do you think it's really going to penetrate? Seriously? Do you really think it's going to? It's not, and that's just the way it is. They don't really do anything. About the best penetrating oil can hope to help you with is when you finally do break it loose, it might lubricate it enough to help you get it apart a little better. That's about all penetrating oils ever do. I bet I've used more penetrating oil and had more things stuck than 90% of the people watching this video. I do stuff like that all the time, machinery, all kinds of things. And they just don't work. They just don't do anything. Or if they do, you got to wait days upon days. Nothing happens quick. So that's why I say what I say. Let's see. But they will for sure. The comment was about the wood, and for sure, but being a soda straw, it will suck right down those soda straws and bleed into the wood, and it'll just melt your finish off. It'll just ruin your finish. So don't use penetrating oils on your peg head of your guitar. Bill Mumbo, Jerry, as you made and fitted a new bridge, I reckon you set the neck to the bridge so a wedge wasn't needed under the fretboard. Well, the fretboard, the reason it's sort of the same thing and it's sort of different. You're try to find two things here to use as examples. This is the body of the guitar. This is the neck. The neck, and I'm exaggerating. The neck is like this. It's really only like that, but it's like that. It's at an angle. And so if you extend that angle on up, you would think you would need a wedge here. That's where they were talking about needing the wedge. Instead, you just push this down, and now you have a hump there. That's the way Martin guitars are. They have a hump there. I didn't do anything different on this one than Martin does from their factory. I just bent it down like it's supposed to be, and that's just the way it is. But no, I'm supposed to put a wedge there. Even though Martin doesn't put a wedge there, why should I put a wedge there? So all I'm saying is that there was like a dozen thumbs up on that comment. Like, yep, he should have done that. He should have done that. I'm sorry, but you really should, like I said, you should pay attention to what people are doing in the video and learn from it rather than, because they've seen that in some other video somewhere, then they tell you need to do that because they've seen some other amateur put a wedge under there. That's not the way you do it. It's not the way it works. Believe what you want. I don't care. You can believe anything you want to believe. I'm just telling you the way it is from black and white from 40 years of doing it. There you go. But yes, you're right on the other part of that, Bill. I did definitely set the neck to the bridge height. So and as you've already seen, you guys have already seen this on the channel, I played the guitar for you, and I told you it is perfect. Even though everybody gets on me, that's the other comment, is they get on me whenever I say something's perfect. They jump all over it whenever I say something's perfect. But this guitar turned out perfect. Anyway, Ronald Todd, passport for Karen. Passport, that's the word. I was trying to think. It's so stupid I can't think of words like that. It drives me nuts. It's just like the name thing. I know it. I cannot say it. It won't come out. Yep, passport. We just don't need to show our passport when we go from Canada to the U.S. or vice versa, U.S. to Canada. It would be awesome if we had some sort of a union, trust, whatever you want to call it, whether or not they're combined or not, I don't give a rip. But wouldn't it be nice if we didn't have to worry about the border? Wouldn't that be cool? I think it'd be awesome. That's just me. Doesn't mean it has to happen, but I just think it'd be awesome. Scott Roberts, Jerry, everyone is a critic and everyone is entitled to my opinion. If you want the opinion of others, you can give it to them. My opinion. I think your work on the wheelhouse is beautiful. Thank you. Wade Hampton, good afternoon, Jerry. I'm proud of you for standing your ground. I completely understand your position. I'm very much the same way. Snowflakes melt on my doorstep too. Yeah, it's just I have no sympathy, zero, none, not any, for anybody who goes looking to find something to be offended about. If you want to find it, you can find it. But that doesn't mean I did anything wrong. You can go be offended all day long if you want to. That's your prerogative. Wade Hampton, let's see, Michael 2X. Are you considering making the hatchet out of the metal detecting fine? Yeah, maybe. I don't know if I'll make a hatchet out of it, but I'll probably use it for some more knives and things. Slight update on the knife thing. The one I made for the kitchen knife for sawing the sausage in half. I was in there the other day cutting some sausage, and I said to Sue, I said, boy, it is nice to use this knife, how fast it cuts the sausage in half compared to those other knives. She goes, yeah, I know. I use that knife all the time. So, it just holds an edge. By the way, same thing, same subject, but different, switching subjects, sort of. I watched a video yesterday, I believe, on how stainless steel is made and how it was invented and all that. And the guy that invented it, I think, was in the UK, I think, that invented it, if I'm remembering that part right. But anyway, they turned him down on it. They said, it's just no good. It won't stay sharp. That's what they said. They said it won't stay sharp. Well, then they put some mild additive in it to help it stay a little sharper, but it still doesn't stay as sharp as high carbon steel. So anyway, that was in the video. I thought that was so cool because I've been telling you all stainless steel won't stay sharp. And they said it in the video. So there you go. But still, having said that, then still all cutlery is pretty much made out of stainless steel, mainly because it won't rust and it doesn't take so much care. You don't have to polish it and keep it clean and all that. So I get it. There is a downside to using the kind of knife that I made, the kind of steel that I made my knife out of. But the positive side is it stays sharp. It stays real sharp. So there you go. Just didn't cost you any extra to know that either. Let's see. Wade Hampton, your water wheelhouse is magnificent. Thank you. Gordon Bartlett, the 51st state comment is offensive, whether you meant it as a joke or not. Well, there you go. If you want to think it's offensive, then just let it be offensive. If you can't tease a friend, then you're not a friend. That's all I can say. Just that simple. I'm not apologizing because it was not meant as an offensive comment. And you can take it any way you want to. If you want to be offended, you can be offended. But you don't have to be offended. That's just your prerogative. Buzzy Muswell. I've never seen that name before either, I don't think. He doesn't have any question marks. He says, laugh out loud, my son can't watch you work on guitars. He respects and admires your work, but he just can't handle how you tough and have to fix certain things. How tough you have to be to fix certain things. Well, I've said this many times. When you're working on a guitar and when you got to take something apart, for the most part, you're breaking it. There's no zippers. There's no, Velcro to pull apart or anything like that. They're glued together. They're solid. You're pretty much got to break them. You can sugarcoat it and try to make it sound real pretty and all this, but the truth is you're pretty much breaking it. And, after 40 years, again, I go back to that, you kind of know what you can do and what you can't do. And like hitting that on my hand, I knew how it was going to turn out or I wouldn't have done it. If I thought there was a chance I was going to break his peg head, don't you think I would have tried something else? Although I don't know what it would have been. See, you can use a press on something like that. You can, with no impact, you can put a press, but then if it don't give, you could bust a hole you could bust the peg head right in half, This, I've got it in my hand. I can feel what it's doing, Just that simple. Do whatever you prefer. If you don't like that method, do a different method. But be warned, is all I can tell you. Let's see. WP says, he doesn't have any question marks either, but I see Patty Chandler's name in there, so that's why I'm going to read it. WP, my YouTube referral was full of Patty Chandler showing you and various bands from 17 years ago. Yeah, Patty Chandler put out a lot of that, those videos of the early bands and things out there. I never put any out there back then, and so if you see any of those, I didn't put them out there. It was usually Patty or somebody else. Eddie Turner, 073, look what I made, front wire band. I knew you'd know. Eddie knows all those things. 479, how to make the RSW side bender and fretboard removal tool. Yeah. The fret wire bender was 073. That was a long time ago, wasn't it? Uh-oh, it scrolled on me again. Let's see here. Okay, there it is. Harley Handler. He doesn't have any question marks, but he says, looks mighty fine. Thank you. Wade Hampton, Jerry, I love the 3 Martin guitar videos. I was like stepping a couple of years back in time. Yeah, and I'll get the 4th one out, the final one out this weekend. And then I'm going to say it was perfect in that video. I'm also going to address those negative comments at the beginning of the video. I'm going to add that in there because, again, not because it bothers me. I could give a rip. But because other people that read those comments, they don't know. And you got to address it so they do know, in my opinion, because I feel like I'm doing them a disservice if I don't let them know why I did what I did. Let's see. Bill Webb. The thing is, if you don't like what someone says or does, then it's simple to just not watch the video. Yeah, I agree with that. Wavy Gravy. I always give 110%. I think that's why I got fired as a cashier. That's funny. Let's see. Hugh O'Connor. Canada, U.S. The thing Trump forgets is that Canada is still part of the British Commonwealth. The least he should have done is mentioning it to the UK. Well, I don't know. That's again, that's politics. I don't care which way that goes. I truly don't. I really don't. It would, like I said, the only thing that I think would be cool is if we somehow could be joined together in the sense that we just don't need to show our passports going across the border, and that we could trust one another, and just be good neighbors. I think it'd be great. I don't have to show a passport if I go into my neighbor's field over here, assuming that we're getting along, So to me, I just think it'd be cool if somehow or another Canada and U.S. could have that kind of understanding. And, we kind of have it anyway, so why do we need a border? That's the way I look at it. And like I said, well, never mind. Just forget it. That's good enough. GMP Old Marine Shop, do you have barn cats? Had them at one time? Yeah, we've had a bunch of barn cats. The problem with cats is they go on the prowl for other stuff at night. Like sometimes they'll stay around the barn, but other times they're out in the weeds hunting rabbits or baby rabbits and things like that. I'm not a big cat fan, to be honest with you. They do a good job a lot of the time, some of the time. I'm not a huge fan of cats. I don't really have anything really against them either. It's just that I don't they're not all they're cracked up to be. If they stayed in the barn and just caught mice and rats, I'd have 1,000 of them. Brian O'Grady, that building is a great achievement. You should be very proud. Well, thank you. Carol Truman, there are no rats in Alberta, Canada. There is a strong rat patrol along the borders of the province. Okay, let's see. Bill Webb, dang, Jerry, you said you never moved to Texas even if it meant losing your job. As a Texas, I'm offended. Shame on you. Yeah, well, I went down there house hunting when they paid for us to go down there and look for a house, and I did that legitimately, thinking that we might move down there, at that time. But pretty much on the trip and thinking about all the details, I thought, it's just doesn't make sense for me to move down there with all my family up here and all my relatives and friends up here. All I'd be doing is driving back and forth all the time. No, I don't need that. So I just said, I'm not moving. And there you go. I stayed. But yeah, Bill, if you want to be offended, Bill, let me offend you. I'm seriously going to offend you now, okay? Whenever I want to find Texas, we used to say, we were in headquarters, and we'd have bouts with different people out in the fields. It was a 5-state deal. There was Missouri, Arkansas, Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas. We had all those areas. And so being in the headquarters, I would say, if somebody would give me any trouble, I say, you know what? When I want to find Texas, all I do is I start walking west. And when I smell something, I turn left. And when I step in it, I know I'm in Texas. So, Bill, consider yourself offended now. And then he says, it was 59 degrees this morning here in Texas at about 7 o'clock. Wow, that's pretty good. Yeah, we were in the upper 40s this morning. So Sue was freezing. Dennis Clark's try some doorknobs. Okay. Hugh O'Connor's sawmill. Have you estimated the price of shop-bought lumber for the water mill? Stop moaning about the work involved. Check and balances. He. Well, yeah, I mean, obviously it saved me tons of money, but there's tons of work, so you pay for it one way or the other. It's just I prefer to do the work over spend the money. That's just me. It's all preference. G&P Old Marine Shop. Penetrating oil works works with steel bolts in aluminum and heat because of different expansion rates. Ask me how I know. Well, like I said, for me, in my experience, whenever things are tightly rusted together, the penetrating oil, you can pour it on there for 3-4 days in a row and you're not going to see any good results. That's just me. Bruce Centerwall. By paying attention to you, I decided to use Paducah for the wind harp I am going to build. Yeah, Paducah makes a great harp. I mean, a wind chime or whatever you want to call it. Paducah sounds really good. Let's see. Ronald Todd. Correct me if I'm wrong, but when you string up and tune the guitar, doesn't the pressure straighten the neck a fraction? Well, yeah, a little bit, but it should be strong enough that it's not really doing that. What happens, instead of so much straightening it'll put a slight underbow in the neck. And that's what the truss rod's for. You tighten that truss rod and it lifts the center of the neck. So there you go. Carol Truman said, we used to not need passports when we go from Canada to yes. Really? That's cool. I didn't know that. I always thought you needed them. GMPO Marine Shop. I always say you can strive for perfection, but rarely achieve it if you get close. Ha. I don't know if I read that right or not, but anyway, let's see. Paul Akers says, I'm an equal opportunity offender. Yeah, me too. Yeah, like I said, anybody can look for anything to be offended about. And all I can say is I have zero sympathy for those people. They can just feel free to be offended. That's the way I look at it. Kelly Menace, looks great, Jerry. You should have just put rail to front and a wedge to fill the gap on top of the post. Okay. I don't know really what that means exactly either. I mean, I'll eventually have the whole thing there, but I just haven't got there yet. It took me all morning. Well, first of all, that post that's against the building, that one needed a lot of contouring and lots of cutouts that I didn't show in the video, but that was a complicated cut on that post. There was a bunch of cuts, a couple of notches, several things had to fit into several places to make that post fit. So it took a long time to get that first post up. And then the second post was fairly straightforward, and it didn't take no time at all, except that it was 2 1/4 inches too short. Let's see. Don Nice. Jerry, I think your water wheelhouse is great addition to your place. Thank you. That's what it was all about, was just an eye appeal thing when you come through the gate. That's really all it was about, other than the fact that I just always thought there should be a water wheel there just because the water's falling down into the pond. It just makes sense to me. Dennis Clark says, hey, sometimes I need a warm, fuzzy feeling. Well, just get you some penetrating oil and spray it on stuff. You'll get warm, fuzzy all over. That's the way I feel about that stuff. I've used tons of it, and I've got several cans of it down there in the shop now, and I use it all the time still. And yet, to this day, I can't think of one single thing that it's ever really done. I mean, I just can't, honestly. It's the truth of it. I mean, there's the reality of it. There's the warm, fuzzy feeling, and then there's the reality. And the reality is it just doesn't do anything. Bad Bob V65. Hey, Jerry, on this thing of opinions, just because they disagree don't make them right. You were not offensive. You do a great job, and I love your channel even when I disagree. Thank you. Texas. I used to say I'll never live in Texas. Guess where I live now? Fort Worth. See, Bill Webb quit commenting. See, I offended him about how to find Texas. You know, you just walk west from St. Louis. When you smell something, turn left. Well, when you smell something, you're in Oklahoma. When you when you turn left and you step in it, you're in Texas. Let's see. Ronald Todd. I think 9/11 is when you had to show passports at the border. Never needed one before. Really? I didn't know that. Well, I'll be darned. That's amazing. Of course, I hadn't been to Canada before that, but I just always assumed you would just always need one. Paul Akers. As a hillbilly, we are the only class of people who can be made fun of without backlash. Yeah, well, people make fun of us hillbillies all the time. And, you know, I get offended very much. Let's see, Bob Hamby. Hey, Jerry, I offended you once when I was trying to get you to make a bridge for me after you retired, and you got a little mad at me, and I'm still here, my friend. I got mad at you for asking me to make you a bridge? Man, it sounded like I was mad, but I don't doubt I was mad at you. I don't, I have, that's the other thing. Some of those commenters, they make those negative comments. But the truth is, and this is just, again, call it a brag, call it whatever you want to call it. I'm just telling you the black and white facts. And the black and white facts are I turn away more people on a weekly basis or on a monthly basis. I'll say on a monthly basis, I turn away more business even now than I would say half of the luthiers get in a year's time. You know, I turn it away, you know, and now that I put these videos out recently, I've been really turning away a lot of people, just turning them away left and right. And, you know, sorry, I have to turn them away because if I said yes to one of them, then the gates are open. I'm in trouble then. Hugh O'Connor, the UK and Ireland have reciprocal passport arrangements and different currencies, so can't see any reason why that should be a no area. Tariffs are a different issue. Bill Webb, I'll be offended next time I come to visit. Well, Bill, anyway, I guess that's going to be it, guys. Thanks for being here. I will see you tomorrow with something else. Hopefully, I'll be there to show you a completed handrail. I'm really hoping I can get that finished this afternoon. That thing, seriously, was kicking my tail, and especially that first post. That first post was, I'm going to try to video a close-up of how many cuts I had to make on that first post. It's more than you would think. That's all I can tell you. Take care. We'll see you tomorrow with something else.